Om Tapakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharmaswarupine Stapakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharmaswarupine Avataravariष्ठाय Ramakrishna te Namah Asato ma Sadgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityormamritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. We have been studying the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Today's topic I want to dwell upon: how to root out all attachment. We are suffering because of this power of attachment. It is so intense. So naturally we suffer in various ways. So the way to spirituality is one should be able to turn his mind towards spiritual ideas and towards spiritual life. We have seen how on account of this terrible power of attachment, people become restless and experience misery in the life. People are attached to things of the world. They are attached to the property. They are attached to the place where they are born. They are attached to the state. They are attached to the country. So many ways. Attachment over attachment. So layers and layers of attachment are being built up. How can you expect to really feel the value of peace? How is it possible? Well, the purpose of attachment is to see that this is not the way to attain peace or happiness. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavata, the famous spiritual textbook, where it deals with tremendous spiritual ideas, there Lord Krishna says in clear terms: yoga, discrimination, piety, study of the Vedas, austerities, renunciation, performing rites, sacrificial rites and works of public utility, charity, vows, sacrifices, places of pilgrimage, and moral rules, particulars as well as universal. None of these, Lord Krishna says, binds one so much as the association of saints that roots out all attachment. Sri Ramakrishna has said, one should always seek the company of holy persons. The nearer you approach the Ganges, you feel the cool breeze. Again, the nearer you go to a fire, the hotter you feel. So, we have to study this subject little more deeply. The person is becoming more and more intoxicated through his activities in the world. It is this intoxication makes the person addicted, and this addiction ruins him. What is that intoxication? Generally all people are affected with the intoxication of lust and gold. It is true, it is very difficult to conquer lust. It is true, really true, to get rid of the attachment towards gold. But the fact remains, it is this intoxication of lust and gold, the intoxication of privileges and preferences, the intoxication of pleasures and enjoyments. How many types of intoxication people are passing through in the world? They are being constantly, in one way or other, intoxicated. So in that process, what has become, the person is suffering from the chronic disease of intoxication. Chronic. That means he is constantly agitated by his sense desires, which could never satisfy him at all. From one false hope, he is betrayed into another. So that will have negative reaction on his mind, and all ideas connected with spirituality just have no effect upon such a person. So he becomes, in a way, totally drawn towards these things, and he behaves in a clever and worldly way, and he begins to feel that I am the doer, I am the giver. So he is giving most importance to his own assertion. He doesn't dwell upon the divine spirit, the divine power behind everything in this world. That is to say, he denies the indwelling self and despises the abiding virtues. Such a person neither longs for liberation nor makes any exertion for it. His intoxication makes him a complex personality, where platitudes are accepted as wisdom, bigoted narrowness as holy zeal, and egoism as God-given piety. His ethics and morality, religion and rituals, charity and hospitality are all motivated by worldly gain. Suppose you ask a person, hey, we are having some spiritual program and we need some financial help. Will you be able to give something? Immediately, the immediate answer is, well, I am ready to give some amount, but my name should be there somewhere. That is called worldly motivation. If you are spiritually motivated, you won't speak like that at all. I am just giving the example. So somehow or other, they want to project their importance, and that's how the whole world is going on. So such a person's head is full of schemes and heart full of anxieties. So he is doggedly holding on to the life, even though he is advanced in age. That is, even when on the verge of death, he thinks he will not die. He will stay for some more days. Some more. How long? He will keep on doing some more. He may even accept the saying, all men are mortal. But he is far from bringing it home himself. So, anyway, time will not hold anybody on this world for a long time. Everybody will have to give up the body, even though he likes it, even though he doesn't want to give up. There is some inscrutable power which takes the soul away from the body. So the man was hoping to do things, all hopes turn into shadows of despair. So such is the state of the most of the people in the world. But there are people who, though are surrounded by the people having worldly tendencies, though they breathe the same air, living under the same sky with them, still possess a different frame of mind. So with which the saintly persons tower high above us all. The saint is an extraordinary soul, and he is a wonder to the world. What makes him extraordinary is not his material wealth or earthly possessions, but his extraordinary vision and realization. He has known the mysteries of life and death, and so he is released from the fetters of all desires. He possesses nothing, but he is a master of his own conduct. He adheres to a supreme ideal of life, to which Kalidasa, the great Indian poet, signifies in his famous composition Malvikagnimitra. There the poet says, owning the whole world while disowning himself. His element is holiness, and his mark is purity. He is pure like fire, free like the air, and guileless like a child. The prudence of the worldly wisdom, which is the mother of pride and avarice, it is unknown to this holy simplicity. His is a true wisdom, which can only be found in a heart freed from the clouds of passions. Perfect wisdom, which is the fruit of the assemblage of all virtues. Time alone relieves the foolish from sorrow, but reason the wise. The saint is truly this wise person. His truth is his God realization, and he is firmly established on that truth which he feels to be true. His whole soul directs him towards that truth. So he is under the noble necessity of being true. He sees God everywhere and remains intoxicated with the joy of God. He is also intoxicated, but not in a worldly way, which I explained before, but he is intoxicated to God. The saint with his God intoxication thus presents a striking contrast to the world of ordinary men who remain addicted to the intoxicating enjoyments of the world. We can consider an illustration in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. One day Sri Ramakrishna was going off to Calcutta from Dakshineshwar temple garden. He was seated in a carriage. So while passing by the side of a grog shop, Sri Ramakrishna saw some drunkards drinking wine and singing joyfully and noisily, making merry. As soon as Sri Ramakrishna saw the drunkards, how his mind reacted, that's very important for us to observe. The memory of the bliss of God overwhelmed his mind by seeing that sight, and he became filled with divine inebriation. In that feat of divine inebriation, Sri Ramakrishna stood up, placed his foot on the footboard of the carriage, and like one drunk began expressing joy and making gesticulations of his body, and cried out loudly at those drunkards, saying, "Very nice, fine enjoyment, bravo, bravo." Here, the drunkards stood intoxicated with the joy of drinking wine, and the saint, as he saw them, instantly became intoxicated with the joy of God, the fountainhead of all joy and bliss. How similar were the manifestations of the two states of intoxication, and yet how different they were in their meaning and significance. One represented the lowest of the pleasures of the world, and the other represented a joy that was highest of the high. One intoxication blinds men and shuts their eyes to the light of the truth, and the other endows one with the vision of a truth that remains true forever. The truth which cannot be gotten for gold, neither silver be weighed for the price thereof. This vision of truth, not any temple or tower, rank or power, is the glory of the saint. With this truth vision, he unconsciously leads the light of conscience before the world and demonstrates a burning spirituality. Before his towering realization, all evanescent enjoyments pale into insignificance, and the divine inebriation of the saint. The worldly people find another intoxication of rare and superior joy which no earthly intoxicant can give. Does not the saint then make himself a rare person of extraordinary vision and uncommon realization in the world of ordinary men? Truly does the Bhagavad Gita describe a saint as an extraordinary person and say, very rare is that great soul. In Vivekananda, this famous verse, Shankaracharya describes the holy company of such a soul as a rare thing which is available only through the grace of God. He comments, there are three things which are rare indeed and are due to the grace of God, namely a human birth, the longing for liberation, and the protecting care of a perfected sage. The greatest of the miracles of a saint is his holiness. He radiates holiness, and by that he compels a transfiguration around him. If he possesses anything which can be termed as supernatural power, it is his holiness, with which he becomes the tamer of the souls. Being himself awakened to the call of truth, he makes others awaken too. Living contact with him brings in unconscious conversion in other souls. For this, he neither makes gratuitous assertions nor invents illustrative experiences. There is neither any rhetorical affluence nor smattering of learning. He lives the life, and by this he adds a spark of Promethean fire into the souls of others. The difference between a saint and a worldly person, according to Vedanta, is one of degree and not of kind. Same divinity shines in both. In a saint, it shines in full splendor and glory, whereas in the worldly person, it remains covered. All bondages, all miseries, and all intoxication of the worldly man are his own creations. He makes himself hypnotized, and therefore he suffers. By being forgetful of his real nature, he remains intoxicated with the inferior pleasures of life. But to understand all these, one must have the glimpse of truth. One must taste the superior joy, even for a moment, before one can reject the inferior enjoyments and pleasures. Living contact of a saint gives him the real taste of that superior joy of life, before which all earthly pleasures taste stale. Gradually he begins to be disenchanted, and the more he gets disenchanted, the more he becomes illumined. He attains a rebirth in one life and is made new. The worldly man's self-forgetfulness has been vividly described through a story told by Sri Ramakrishna in the Gospel. It's a beautiful story which has tremendous spiritual significance. Once a tigress attacked a herd of goats. A hunter saw her from a distance and killed her. The tigress was pregnant and gave birth to a cub as she expired. The cub began to grow in the company of the goats. At first it was nursed by the she-goats, and later on, as it grew bigger, it began to eat grass and bleat like the goats. Gradually, the cub became a big tiger, but still it ate grass and bleated. When attacked by other animals, it would run away like the goats. One day, a fierce-looking tiger attacked the herd. It was amazed to see a tiger in the herd eating grass and running away with the goats at its approach. So this forest tiger, it left the goats and caught hold of the grass-eating tiger, which began to bleat and tried to run away. But the fierce tiger dragged it to the water and said, "Now look at your face in the water. You see, you have the part face of a tiger. It's exactly like mine. Look at me and look at yourself in the water." Next it pressed a piece of meat into its mouth At first the grass-eating tiger refused to eat the meat. Then it got the taste of the meat and relished it. At last the fierce tiger said to the grass-eater, "What a disgrace! You lived with the goats and ate grass like them?" And the other was really ashamed of itself. Now, what is the spiritual significance of this wonderful story? Eating grass is like enjoying lust and gold. It's just like eating grass. To bleat and run away like a goat is to behave like an ordinary man. Going away with the new tiger is like taking shelter with the Guru, who awakens one's spiritual consciousness and recognizing him alone as one's relative. To see one's face rightly is to know one's real self. That's the spiritual significance. In the person of the saint, the worldly man finds that rare spiritual teacher who by his glowing life makes others glow in purity and holiness. This life of glowing holiness is a power, and it is this power that prophesies in Revelation, "Behold, I make all things new." What a great wonder is wrought in this making things new. It is a transformation which no metaphysics can define. It is a communication which is inexpressible because it is subtle and intense. The saint's animism impels us to place a living soul, a throbbing spirit behind our own corporeality. The soul gradually stretches and expands until it covers the entire universe, and conversely, the Absolute permeates the soul. Just as the ocean possesses only the savor of salt, so also the life of a saint possesses only the savor of God. This is the real power which a saint wields at ease to become a forger of our morphology, architect of our emotions, captain of our personality, and alchemist of our being. The sage Narada has described the efficacy of the company of a saint as unerring and unfailing. Intoxication and illusion, dross and dirt, however deep and ingrained, melt away from a wicked heart when it comes in the contact of a truly saintly personality. Sri Ramakrishna compares holy company of saints to a soap solution which imperceptibly cleanses and purifies all. Instances of such unconscious purification and unintentional transfiguration of a soul through the holy association of saints are often amazing, mysterious and wonderful. So, the Lord in his last message to Uddhava reminds Uddhava in the Bhagavata about the redemptive power of holy association and says, "It was through the association of saints, O sinless one, that many who are of a Rajasika, Tamasika nature, such as Vratra, Prahlada and others, attained me in different ages, Daityas and Rakshasas, beasts and birds, Gandharvas, Apsaras, Nagas, Siddhas, Charanas, Vidyadharas, and among mankind Vaishyas and Shudras, women and outcasts. They had not studied the Vedas, nor served the great saints, nor observed any vows, nor performed any austerities. Yet, through their association with God, represented by the saints, they attained God. The holiness of a saint supplies its own fuel, lights its own fire, and is self-feeding like the sun. It cleanses as well as creates. The holiness of Christ not only purified the soul of Mary Magdalene, but also transformed her into a saint. Angulimala, the fierce robber, turns into a holy man when he meets Buddha face to face. Before Angulimala, who was restless with his wickedness and vices, Buddha stood in awe of God and of his own soul. Unconscious influence is a specimen of a holy power that touches straight into our hearts, gives flash of sublime light over our past and into our future. It leaves marks of deep significance and symbolism and pours forth a lofty strain of hope and inspiration. Its growing intensity dispenses with bodily presence and makes it strike with electric speed through time and space till it changes our whole being. This unconscious holy influence of Sri Ramakrishna the god-intoxicated man of Dakshineshwar, once rescued Girish Chandra Ghosh from the bottomless pit of vice and transfigured the latter into the image of a saint. It is a story of a marvelous transformation that could ever be recorded in the history of the saints. Girish Chandra Ghosh was a great dramatist, a songwriter, and an actor inspired by Western ideas. He had grown skeptical about the existence of God and so contemptuous about the saints. He was addicted to wine, had indulged in various kinds of moral debauchery, and his sensuality was deep and ingrained, reckless, arrogant, and proud. Girish was a complicated person, always fluctuating between enjoyment and excitement. But his contact with Sri Ramakrishna proved to be a turning point in his checkered life. Though skeptical about the saints and holy men in general, Girish was surprised to see the radiant purity and holiness of the saint when he met Sri Ramakrishna first in the house of a neighbor. Never he had seen such a god-intoxicated man before. So he could not forget the saint's face even when he returned home. And how can one forget it? That mark of holiness is no mere abstract entity, but a perceptible power that never leaves a miracle half done. The artist's nimbus of glory around a saintly countenance may fade away, but the dear features that leave their impress upon our mind hold their fast color. Girish would come to Sri Ramakrishna even when he was drunk. The drunkenness of Girish would at once remind Sri Ramakrishna of the taste of the joy of God and his mind with great spiritual fervor. Sri Ramakrishna would receive Girish with all cordiality and love. He never discarded him because he was a drunkard. That is the glory of the holy saint. Though often under the influence of the liquor, Girish would abuse Sri Ramakrishna publicly in most indecent terms. Sri Ramakrishna would show only his all-embracing love and compassion upon Girish in return. One night, Girish drank himself to the extreme in the house of an actress, and when the morning came, he became full of remorse for it. With a repentant mind, Girish immediately started for Dakshineshwar to visit Sri Ramakrishna, not however without a bottle of wine. And arriving at the temple garden, he wept repentantly, embracing Sri Ramakrishna's feet. And then suddenly, Girish felt the urge for drinking. You know, the habit is there. Girish became disturbed to see that the carriage in which he had left the bottle had in the meanwhile driven off. So he was in great dilemma. He wanted it immediately. But Sri Ramakrishna knew the mind of Girish more than what Girish knew about it himself. So what did Sri Ramakrishna do? He produced the bottle before Girish. How could he do that? Sri Ramakrishna had privately asked a devotee to bring Girish's belongings from the carriage before it could leave. Not being able to get rid of his past habits, Girish now drank shamelessly at the very presence of Sri Ramakrishna. And having done so, he felt very much repentant again. To this, Sri Ramakrishna told him, "Drink to your heart's content. It won't be for much longer." For Sri Ramakrishna was never dogmatic to impose his own indoctrination upon Girish, for whom he had allowed every freedom of thought and action. Never he could look upon anybody as a sinner who was to be answered according to his sins and follies. Rather, it was an outflow of a soul filled with love and compassion that made everything holy and divine by their touch. The more this divine love of the saints started gaining its hold upon Girish, the more Girish became conscious about his misdeeds and wickedness. One day, while sitting before Sri Ramakrishna, Girish was repentantly brooding over his follies and foibles. Sri Ramakrishna, in a mood of great spiritual fervor and compassion, spoke out, "Girish Ghosh, don't worry about it. People will be astonished at the marvelous change that will come upon you." Seeking this change of life, Girish once asked Sri Ramakrishna, "I don't want advice. I have written cartloads of advice to others. It doesn't help me. Do something to transform my life." Girish therefore heaved a sigh of relief as Girish heard these words of solemn assurance about his future from Sri Ramakrishna. When Sri Ramakrishna said, "People will be astonished at the marvelous change that will come upon you." The effect of the holy association of a saint could not but be infallible. True to the prophecy of Sri Ramakrishna, Girish started changing gradually. There came upon him a marvelous transfiguration which soon made him glow with a living faith in God and an ardent love for man. From out of the bottomless pit of his past vices, Girish emerged holy and purified to play the role of a heroic devotee of God, a changed person who in later life could boldly dwell on his past misdeeds to emphasize the glory of his wonderful transformation as well as the grace of Sri Ramakrishna. The saint with his life of glowing saintliness thus stands as a veritable powerhouse of spirituality that sustains and feeds the tenets of religions and shapes and reshapes the souls of men. His body is a temple of the living God, and his mind the great seat of a holy pilgrimage, for he carries within him only the thoughts of God and nothing else. The Sufi saint Rabia was once questioned, "Do you love God?" The unhesitating reply came, "Yes." Again she was asked, "Do you hate Satan?" And again the reply was unequivocal, "No, my love for God leaves no room for hating Satan." There may be differences of creeds and sects about the ideas of God, but the holiness of his saint stands above all differences of creeds and sects. Whether a saint is a Hindu or a Mohammedan, a Buddhist or Christian, his holiness remains the same everywhere. This holiness is a goal of all spirituality, all religion, all penance, all austerity. It is the highest manifestation of the divine spirit, assimilable and communicable across the barriers of race and religion. For all these, therefore, the Lord in the Bhagavata says, which I said in the beginning, yoga, discrimination, piety, study of the Vedas, austerities, renunciation, rites such as Agnihotra, and works of public utility, charity, vows, sacrifices, places of pilgrimage, and moral rules, particulars as well as universal. None of these, I say, binds me so much as the association of saints that roots out all attachment. So, what Sri Ramakrishna said, which I quoted in the beginning, one should always seek the company of holy men. The nearer you approach the Ganges, the cooler breeze you will feel. So that's the way to root out all attachment. Otherwise, it is extremely difficult to get rid of this addiction of attachment to worldly things. So, even after coming to Sri Ramakrishna, how much struggle Girish had to undergo to uproot all attachment, addictions towards his worldly things. So, the idea is you must not lose the link, the spiritual link. That's very important. The spiritual link. That is, constantly studying the spiritual ideas, constantly dwelling upon spiritual life of saints and sages. We must cleanse our mind regularly, and we must be very serious about our pursuit of spiritual life. And then, in course of time, all the attachments are removed, and you will be attached to God, which will give you real peace and happiness. Page 768. Again, Jnana and Bhakti are two paths. Whichever you follow, it is God that you will ultimately reach. The Jnani looks, the Chandi. It is written there that the Divine Mother kills all beings. What does that mean? Sri Ramakrishna answered, this is all her Leela, her sportive pleasure. That question used to bother me too. Later I found out that all is Maya, both creation and destruction or God's Maya? Girish conducted Sri Ramakrishna and the devotees to the roof where the meal was served. There was a bright moon in the sky. The devotees took their seats. The master occupied a seat in front of them. All were in a joyous mood. Sri Ramakrishna was beside himself with joy at the sight of Narendra. The beloved disciple sat in the front row. Every now and then the master asked how he was getting along. He had hardly finished half his meal when he came to Narendra with some watermelon sharbat and curd from his own plate. Tenderly, Sri Ramakrishna said to the disciple, "Please eat this." Then he went back to his own place. It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Sri Ramakrishna sat in Balram's drawing room in a happy mood. Many devotees were present. Narendra, M, Bhavana, Purna, Paltu, the younger Naren, Girish, Ram, Binode, Vija and others sat around him. Balram was not there. He had gone to Mongher for a change of air. His eldest daughter had invited Sri Ramakrishna and the devotees and celebrated the occasion with a feast. The master was resting after the meal. Again and again the master asked him, "Am I liberal-minded? Tell me." Bhavanath said smilingly, "Why do you ask him? He will only keep quiet." A beggar entered the room. He wanted to sing. The devotees listened to a song or two. Narendra liked his singing and asked him to sing more. Sri Ramakrishna said, "Stop, stop. We don't want any more songs. Where is the money?" To Narendra, "You may order the music, but who will pay?" The devotee said smilingly, "Sir, the beggar may think you are an Amir, a wealthy aristocrat. The way you are leaning against that big pillow, all laugh." Master said smilingly, "He may also think I am ill." The conversation drifted to Hazra and his egotism. For some reason, he had to go away from Dakshineshwar. Narendra said, "Hazra now admits he was egoistic." Master said, "Don't believe him. He says so in order to come back to Dakshineshwar." To the devotees he said, "Narendra always insists that Hazra is a grand person." Narendra said, "Even now I say so." Master, "Why? We have heard so much about him, and still you think so?" Narendra said, "He has a slight defect but many virtues." Master said, "I admit that he has devotion to his ideal. He said to me, 'You don't care for me now, but later you will be seeking my company.'" A Goswami came from Serampur. He was a descendant of Advaita Goswami. He intended to spend a night or two at the temple garden. I asked him very cordially to stay. "Do you know what Hazra said to me?" He said, "Send him to the temple officer." What was in his mind was that the Goswami might ask for milk or food, and that he might have to give him some from his own share. I said to Hazra, "Now you rogue, even I prostrate myself before him because he is a Goswami, and you, after leading a worldly life and indulging a great deal in lust and gold, have so much pride because of a little japa? Aren't you ashamed of yourself? One realizes God through sattva. Rajas and tamas take one away from him. The scriptures describe sattva as white, rajas as red, and tamas as black." Once I asked Hazra, "Tell me what you think of the people that come here. How much sattva does each one possess?" He said, "Narendra has 100%, and I have 100%. "What about me?" I asked, and he said, "You still have a trace of pink. You have only 75%, I should say." All laugh. We shall stop here. So, to be in touch with holy people regularly, to establish link, is very important in order to get over the intoxication of the world. So the intoxication must be turned towards God. Be intoxicated to get the vision of God. That's all the purpose of my talk today. Unless attachment is rooted out, one cannot expect peace in this world. So much violence and unrest going on throughout the world. It's all because of the attachment. Land and property, that's all. Land and property. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly. The mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. O name streamed down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drowned deep in the waves of His bliss, tasting His nectar at every step, bathing in His name, that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord. In each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for Thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is Thy servant, O sweet One. In Thy mercy, consider him as dust beneath Thy feet. Oh, how I long for the day when the instant separation from Thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with desire, and the world without Thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at Thy feet let me be, in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of Thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of Thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O Thou who stillest the hearts of Thy devotees, do with me what Thou wilt, for Thou art my heart's beloved, Thou and Thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere, may all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous reign tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good betide all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may the worlds be prosperous and happy, may the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be freed from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding beauty of all sacred works, be satisfied. For He being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.